Mike Callahan here. Want to make a quick video. Had a question submitted earlier here at Callahan's Corner, and it was around the success at SimpleGrowth and the success of my lawn care company. And they wanted to know in the beginning of the year, what is the cadence or what should I be doing inside my business for success to set us up for the following year? Well, I'm going to open up the screen here in a minute and show you what it looks like inside SimpleGrowth and Callahan's Lawn Care, the process that we've taken to go in and create our BHAG, our big, hairy, audacious goal. And then we're going to go in and, in my opinion, what is measured and documented happens. And if it's not measured or documented on a consistent basis, it probably is not going to happen. So right now, in the beginning of the year, going into the season or preseason in most lawn care and home cleaning companies in the service industry is an essential time, in my opinion, to go out and set the groundwork for what you're going to do for the whole entire year and setting a cadence of accountability. So diving in, I'm going to show you what we're doing right here in my company, SimpleGrowth, and exactly what we did at my lawn care company, Callahan Lawn Care, to scale to $1 million and well beyond. But this cadence has allowed SimpleGrowth to more than double in size every year for the past 4 or 5 years. So as we're going in, this is a process that can be used and replicated each and every year and be built upon. But once again, the goals need to be set. They need to be publicly accountable and measured on a daily, weekly, quarterly, and annual basis. So if we don't know where we're going and how we're going to get there throughout the year, we'll never know. So it may be a goal to, let's say, break $3 million in sales this year. But if we don't know the steps along the way to get to 3 million in sales in 3 specific areas that we're going to dive into, we're probably never going to get there. And that's the biggest thing that we see with a lot of service businesses is they have these lofty goals at the beginning of the year coming into January, February, but unfortunately, they're not putting the steps in place with accountability to actually hit those goals. And that has been the ability for at least the last 3 to 4 years in SimpleGrowth. Our budget that we have set up financially and our sales goals have been within 1 to 1.5%. Literally dead nuts accurate. And this is the process that I'm going to show you that we actually take in to account. And you can use this in your service business. So without any further delay, I'm going to open this up and show you what this looks like. So this is our game plan. And the game plan is literally just that. We're setting up the game plan for the year. So I've kind of cleared out, made a blank copy of this. This is something we've already done for my company. We've just finalized the 2022 budget here, and it's being put into QuickBooks. So once again, the budgetary factor in here is very important. So if you haven't set up a budget in an Excel or Google Sheet and then put it into QuickBooks to be able to check it on a weekly basis and then monthly basis, you're going to be missing some things. But the foundational piece is to get your team together, the core leadership group, and we want to get off site, hotel room, boardroom, whatever that is, but a retreat for a day or two. We need to really take a look at this. But the process here in the game plan is in the top, we want to take a look at our priorities. So what is our Q1 through Q2, Q3, Q4 priorities? We need to set those out because once again, if we don't measure what's going to happen and when it's going to happen, we haven't done that. So we're going to look at our quarterly sprints, the things we're going to go in to accomplish. Now, these may be sales objectives. This may be customer retention. These may be financial objectives. We're going to get into that in a second. But on the top high level, we need to go in a group mentality away from the chaos of the office, the day-to-day grind of the business. We need to go in and set our priorities, the game plan here for our 3 priorities. And then we're going to go into the departments. Now, depending on the size of your business, you may be a 1 or 2 person operation in the office, or you may have a multi-million-dollar company and you may have 7 to 10 people in the management team. But there are some big areas that we need to take a look at. So the CEO, their big 3. So what we're going to do is tackle 3 things that are going to be held accountable and tracked daily and weekly for accountability and summarized at the end of the quarter. Any more than 3 is going to be too much. I've tried 4, 5, 6. Those things don't happen. I want to dial this into the big 3 things. And those are the big 3 things that the CEO, so that's the business owner, what are they doing? So traditionally, in my opinion, the greatest success that we've seen in all of my businesses is the business owner. Once the business is established and we've got some team members in place, you're going to be handling the strategy, the mission, the vision. You're going to be the visionary of what's going on. So is the CEO going out and networking with HOA boards and management groups? What are the different things that drives whatever that quarterly goal is? So we want to go in and say, what are the top 3 things that you need to be doing or you're held accountable for to drive the strategic goal of that quarter? So we've got our department's big 3 for the CEO. product management. So that could be your lawn mowing, your fertilizing division, your design build, whatever that is. Customer service. For SimpleGrowth, obviously we've got some development, completely here with a typo, but we've got development, but in your organization, this could be maybe equipment and asset management, marketing and sales, corporate development. We've got finance and administrative. These are some of the ideas of the different subheaders that you may have in your business. We want to define the big three and then who's accountable for those. And we're going to go out and track those on a daily basis. Each person reports into a report. And then on Monday, we have a virtual or in-person standing meeting for 5 to 10 minutes. And that person is actually going in and reporting on it. So it's SimpleGrowth and at Callahan's, Tammy would be responsible for the financials. So she has a certain report that she fills out each day. And then on our financial meeting that we do on Wednesdays, she is accountable to actually present this out to the team for accountability. And if she needs some help or some things are moving, everybody on that team and that department knows the wins and losses, so we can help that person. But what is tracked does happen. So the individual at SimpleGrowth, especially the individual was Callahan, who was responsible for overdue or AR accounts receivable. It's very interesting when that person needs to report on those on Wednesday, you see a significant drop in your account receivables on Monday and Tuesday the day before. So if it's tracked and it's happening, we're going to see some results. So we're going to go in and set the big three. So under the finances, one of them may be accounts receivable under X amount of dollars between 1 to 30, 30 to 60, 60 to 90, and 90 plus. We're setting the big three and the collection maybe, or customer service. Maybe the response with a complaint or damage scenario in the lawn care industry needs a within a 1 day turnaround or a 2 day turnaround and a resolution within 2 days if it's a damage. Whatever that is, we want to set some of those customer service and service management expectations. We're going to set our big three and our quarterly priorities. Now we have our roadmap, where we're going. Next thing is we're going to go in and look at our revenue. So these are our key metrics. So in basically throughout the financial quarter here, we've got our first quarter and our total. So we are going in and physically typing in what is the projected revenue. Now, if you have a maintenance division, you have a design build, whatever that is, we're going in and defining those revenue goals per month, per quarter, broken out per division of the company. And we're going to report out on the weekly and daily and then drive into that quarter. So we're going in and we're running that actual versus budgeted report inside QuickBooks, online or desktop. So there's complete transparency throughout the organization, and whoever is responsible for that is reporting on it daily, weekly, monthly, and then quarterly. And then where are we at with that? Next thing is getting customers. So this is your sales team. We're going to set up realistic goals. So we're going to look at what is our new client acquisition, what's our projected churn or cancellation, and potentially upsell or expansion. So what is our current client base and where can we sell ancillary upsell services where we're already on site? So if we're doing fertilization and weed control, can we go in and expand those sales while we're already there for perimeter pest or mosquito control or deer repellent? So the idea is we want to go in getting customers and going in and creating obviously new sales plays, sales to replace your cancellations that are going to happen for just people who've been moving out of your market, and then expansion plays. And what are the revenue goals there? Then we're going to set some things around wowing our customer. What are we doing to retain these clients that we have? So if we're pumping a ton of sales on the top of that sales funnel, we got other clients, just as many dropping out the bottom, that's not good. So let's set some expectations. So if we're using something like QDS, quality-driven software for surveys, we're going to go in and set some quality score expectations, or how many positive Facebook or Google reviews. What are the metrics from wowing the customers, and what's a non-emotional thing that we can go in and track? We can also track our traditional cancellation rate for dissatisfaction. That could be a metric. Customer retention, customer approval, customer compliments. These things, depending what they are, we want to define them and then set goals and track them daily, weekly, and hold somebody physically accountable. Sounds kind of crazy, but the analogy I like to use that my coach Corey talks about is we want to be able to physically put our hands on the neck of the person who's responsible if they're not doing their job. And obviously, we're not going to put our hands on the neck, but we want it so clearly defined that we know exactly who's responsible. We're not going to say, oh, I thought Joe was doing it, and Joe's going to say, hey, I thought Mike was going to do it. No, Joe's responsible for these big three things. He's reporting out. Mike's responsible for these three things. So we need to set these priorities in here. So we're going in revenue, getting customers, wowing customers, and then financial health. Um, Financial health is going to look at a few things, in my opinion. We're going to look at cash flow on hand. We're going to have hopefully an internal line of credit or external line of credit, and just financial health of just pure cash flow. So we're going to be looking at the profitability of the company. If we projected a 35% net margin and we are ending up around 10 or 15 or 5%, then we've got an issue. So we're going to pick the three big drivers for financial health and track those non-emotionally. And then what we're going to want to do is each person is going to have within their division their big three in Q1 coming up. And then we're going to drive that through my team's big three. So we're going to define the team's big three and then your big three. So your big three may only account for the team's one of their big three, but we're having accountability. So what's the team's overall goal and what are the three things that you drive into that for success? But this is something that we've been doing at SimpleGrowth and at Callahan's Lawn Care for several years, and it has been instrumental. Now, without going into our financials and our goals for this year, because this is completely filled out, I'm going to go into revenue goal, BHAG goals. So big, hairy, audacious goals. So on this sheet, it lists our 6 or 7 core services. It's got each month, and it tells you what is the projected sales. And it historically tells you what the year before 2021 was. And in our case, it'd be a 50% growth. So it's projected out. So we're setting our goals here. And on the achievement page, end of each month, we update this based on the weekly and daily reports for public accountability. So here's the goal. Where were we at? And these are the steps throughout the big three that are going to drive those objectives. In addition, we've got an overall revenue sheet. So all those formulas from the actual sheet drives in and gives us a realistic look of where we're at. So if we're in Q3 now, we know what's remaining, where we're at, and where are we trending. So the idea is to kind of take a look at where are we trending based on our goals. Final part here, obviously I'm not opening this up based on our financials on Facebook Live, but we do have a budget. And it goes down right from top, all of our sales per service projected per month. It accounts our credit card processing, so our 3%. So a lot of people say, how do I charge the client for the credit card processing? We're going to include that in our expenses. And we're also going to account for our cancellation or churn and where we replace it. And we're going to look at our one-time sales versus our reoccurring for financial health and the ability of that business. If you ever go to sell it or you want to retire, the basis on most businesses are going to exponentially help you. And if you're going out to get a line of credit or a loan, is that reoccurring revenue. So we want to track the one-time versus reoccurring for financial stability and overall financial health. And then we're going to go in and put some objectives in here. And we're going to go in and have our game plan. So what is the annual priorities and what does success look like for each one of these quarters? Revenue, greeting customers, wowing, and financial health. So hopefully that's helpful. And one of the companies that we've worked with and certified partners with is Infusionsoft, currently now Keep. And it's pretty interesting. And I think that the culture and everything at Infusionsoft there is really, really interesting. So I want to show you something that, in my opinion, really resonated with me. And this is something that, without letting the cat out of the bag for our financial goals at SimpleGrowth and where we're at, and Callahan's as well. This is the idea, and this is what we've done. So we've kind of adopted the Everest mission, and this is their BHAG. This is their goal, and this was up through 2026. But it drives on that big three principle. So you can see their base camp here, and their 3 defined non-emotional things they're tracking is the number of customers, the revenue, and employees. So they had 1,000 customers, a revenue of 5 million, and 78 employees. That's their base camp at 2007, and they wanted to go and do their Everest mission. So this is basically the analogy of base camps working up to the summit of Everest. So at camp number 1, once again, they've redefined 6,000 clients, 20 million in sales, 135 employees. Camp 2, 2 years later, they want to be at 12,000 customers, 50 million in sales, and 340 employees. So very similar to like SimpleGrowth, we're trying to double in size, and we've been hitting that over the last 3 to 4 years. But if we don't clearly define that, make it publicly accountable, no one's going to get there. This is the same exact thing we did with the lawn care customer. And then we had the final thing here. And they focus on their purpose to help small business succeed. So at SimpleGrowth, we're going in, and our mission is to help business owners, service business owners specifically, take their life back from the business through the use of automations. So that is kind of our purpose. And then we talk about our values. And then this is going in, and the vision of the business is taking the purpose, the values, and the mission. And that's really where the CEO should be driving. Those big three should be going in and reinforcing the purpose, the values, the mission strategically throughout the business. But something like this is a great visual inside your company. And what they did here at Infusionsoft, and we adopted the same exact thing, is when we hit these goals, we had like big sports banners that hung in the shop, almost like winning a sports championship. But that created accountability and a team drive behind these goals. So once again, really the thing you want to be looking at here, though, is we need to set up that budget. We need to create a projected revenue goal versus the actual achievement. And we want to go in, and I'll talk about it in another video, how to actually go to your SWOT, your strengths, weak opportunities, and threats, and how to go in and create that analysis. But we want to go in today and create the game plan and the objectives. And we want to create your annual priorities for success, Q1, Q2, Q3. We want to drive our revenue. We want to go into getting customers, wowing, and financial health. And we want to break that down for the big three based on each division. And by setting that clarity and accountability, you will reach those goals. And if you're not reaching them and you're starting to vary, you can make pivots along the way to make those course corrections. But if you say, I'm going to break 3 million this year, and you don't have this put in place, you'll never break that 3 million. You're going to get to the end of the year and go, crap, what happened? I never did it. So this is the key. We need to set these big three. We need public accountability daily, weekly, and we need to get our strategic group, our management group, offsite for 2 to 3 days and dial out our game plan, our BHAG, our big, hairy, audacious goal, our Everest mission, whatever you want to call that. And we need to create the 2022 or whatever year you're looking at this. You want to set the goals, and then we have the achievement, and that accountability is going to drive that. And alongside of that, we need to set up that budget here, create it, test the formulas, make sure it all works, and then have your admin or somebody take that and put that into QuickBooks. And we want to be running that budget pretty much on a weekly basis. And right here at SimpleGrowth, we are reconciling the QuickBooks account online right now on a weekly basis, actually twice a week, believe it or not. So it's usually Tuesday and Friday that Tammy in the office does that. But now I know within a day or two where we're at 100%. There's no guessing. We know where we're at profit-wise, sales goals, and we can do a year-to-date budget versus actual comparison. And we know exactly where we're at. And that's what has allowed us to be within 1.5%, less than 2% every year for every year we've been in business to our budgeted time, but not having that accurate daily and weekly cadence. It would get really skewed. And one of the things I noticed, and we were victim to it in the early days at the lawn care company, we would wait months sometimes to reconcile that QuickBooks. You need to do it at least once a week, in my opinion. I recommend twice a week because you know exactly what's going on and it's forcing you to look at it. So hopefully that was helpful. But we had a lot of people, asking, what was the key behind the success of the lawn care company as well as SimpleGrowth? How do you continue to grow and scale and double that team and provide value and be financially healthy and hit those goals year after year? And that's the key. We need to set the game plan. We need to set that BHAG, and what's measured happens. So hopefully that's helpful. We'll see you again in Callahan's Corner. You ask the questions, we answer them live or right here on Facebook.